My name is Jennifer. I'm 36 years old, and until now, I've never said out loud what I'm about to write. When my dad died, I was 17. They said it was a robbery. A man jumped the back fence, broke through the side door, and tried to take the safe my dad kept behind the bookshelf in his office. My dad fought back and was shot in the chest. That's what they told me. Our next door neighbor heard the gunshot and called the police. When the paramedics arrived, my dad was still breathing. He died on the way to the hospital. My mom cried so hard she passed out at the station. My brother Alan, who was 19 at the time, said nothing. He just stared at the floor. The detective told me it was random, probably just a scared thief. But even back then, something felt off, like the bookshelf door. My dad was obsessed with security. He locked everything. Even the garage had 2 padlocks. But that night, the bookshelf slid open easily, like someone already knew exactly where to push. For years, I stayed quiet. I left for college in St. Louis. I came home only for Christmas or birthdays, and I always avoided the office. The house stayed with my mom and Alan. He dropped out of engineering school to handle the family business. I never really understood what he did. He always had new cars, new girlfriends, new stories, but he never visited Dad's grave. He wouldn't want us to be sad, he used to say. But the truth is, Alan never looked sad. The last time I went to that house was just a few months ago. My mom had moved into a care home, early stage Alzheimer's. The house was quiet, full of old rugs and dusty picture frames. I went for the weekend to help clean it out. I carried boxes to the basement, emptied the kitchen, and finally stepped into that office. For the first time in 18 years, the bookshelf was still there, but now the door felt stuck. I pushed it hard, and a piece of the wood snapped loose. Behind it was a small hidden space. Inside, an old plastic bag, and inside the bag, a camera. One of those small, old Sony Handycams that use mini tapes. It had a label on top, Jan 2005, the month and year my dad died. I took the camera home. That night, I spent hours trying to make it work. The next day, I bought an adapter and connected it to my laptop. Finally, the screen lit up. There was only one video, 12 minutes long. The camera was still, the room dark, the bookshelf half open. I saw my dad walk in, nervous, glancing behind him. Then Alan, right behind him, holding a gun. I could barely hear the words, but I made them out. Dad, you're not doing this, Alan. Alan, it's just the safe. Give me the code and no one gets hurt. Dad, are you insane? You think money solves everything? Then the gunshot. I paused the video. My stomach turned. I couldn't breathe. There was no thief. The house was never robbed. My brother killed our dad. And for 18 years, everyone just went along with the lie. Even me. The morning after watching that video, I didn't eat. Not because I was sad. I just didn't know how to chew while realizing your brother might have gotten away with murder. I sat on the kitchen floor, holding the camera like it was a bomb. It wasn't heavy. It didn't glow or scream. It just sat there quietly, like the truth usually does when no one's ready to hear it. I thought about calling someone, the police, a lawyer, maybe even my mom, but then I remembered who I was dealing with. Alan. Alan, the golden boy. Alan, the one who never got grounded. Alan, who once stole $500 from Dad's wallet and somehow convinced Mom he was just testing if they trusted him. Guess what? They did. I didn't call anyone. Instead, I poured black coffee, sat on the couch, and opened my dad's old documents. I had brought the whole box from the house the night before, not for fun, just because I needed to see if there were any other skeletons hidden in manila folders. Turns out there were. Bank records, notebooks full of expenses, with my name and Alan's written in 2 different colored pens. Mine, car insurance, college tuition, winter coat, Alan's legal fees, gambling debts, Alan, February poker loss, $4,300. Do not tell Mary. Mary was my mom. Apparently she was kept in the dark too, or maybe she just preferred it that way. I kept digging until I found a handwritten letter folded in half. No envelope, just a note. From Dad. It said, "If anything happens to me, don't let Alan touch the safe. He's not ready, and I don't trust what he's gotten into, Jennifer. If you ever read this, I hope you're still you." That was it. No warm goodbye. No, I love you. Just a warning, a sentence, a clue wrapped in disappointment. It hit me all at once. My father knew. Maybe not exactly what Alan would do, but enough to write it down, enough to stash a camera behind a shelf like some paranoid old man from a bad detective movie. Except this wasn't fiction. I stared at the letter, then the camera, then the computer screen still paused on my father's last breath, and all I could think was, how the hell did Alan get away with this? The official story was clean. Back door broken, drawer open, jewelry missing, which, by the way, was probably sold by Alan himself. The police never found the weapon, but they also didn't find a reason to question the son, who was already halfway crying when they arrived. He gave a perfect performance. Alan always had that talent. Big eyes, soft voice, just enough sadness to get people to look away from the facts. I closed the laptop and picked up my phone. His number was still saved as Alan don't answer. I stared at it for a full minute, then tapped it anyway. He picked up on the third ring. "Hey," he said, like nothing in the world was broken. "Hey," I said back, trying to keep my voice still. "You okay?" he asked. "Heard Mom's not doing great." I smiled. Not the kind of smile you give a friend, the kind you give right before you burn everything down. "Yeah, she's remembering less and less," I said. "But I'm remembering everything." There was a pause, just enough for tension to slide in like a knife. "You sound weird," he said. "I watched something last night," I replied. "Old family footage." Another pause. "What kind of footage?" I let the silence answer. Then I said, "Don't worry, I saved a copy." He hung up. Alan didn't call back, not that I expected him to. Cowards don't like echo chambers, and I'd just become one, bouncing his sins back at him with a calm voice and a shaky smile. After he hung up, I sat there for hours, not crying, not screaming, just sitting. There's a certain kind of rage that doesn't make noise. It just hums quietly in your chest while the rest of you pretends to be okay. At some point, I opened my laptop again, watched the video one more time, not because I enjoyed trauma on loop, but because I needed to make sure I didn't dream it, because the only person who could ever look at that footage and still say maybe it was an accident was someone who needed to keep the lie alive. Alan was wearing a black hoodie. I remembered it. It used to be mine. He stole it back in high school and never gave it back. He said it fit better on him. That was Alan. He took things, then acted like they were always his. But this wasn't a hoodie. This was a dead father, a fake story, and 18 years of silence tied into one stolen moment. So I started writing, not to the police, not yet, to a lawyer, one of my old college friends now working in Chicago, specializing in estate crimes and delayed justice and whatever that means. I sent the footage, the note, a typed version of the letter, my full name, my dad's name, the case number, everything. She called me back in less than an hour. "Jennifer," she said, her voice sharp and fast. "This is serious." "No kidding. Do you want to press charges?" That was the question, wasn't it? Did I want justice? Did I want prison bars and courtrooms and newspaper articles with my last name printed like a stain? Or did I just want him to know that I knew? I didn't answer right away. Instead, I asked, "What happens if I do nothing?" She paused. "Well, nothing. He keeps living. And so do you. But you'll have to carry it alone." I already had been, but it wasn't just about carrying it. It was about who else had carried it too, because someone helped him cover it up. There were holes in the story from day one. The back door was broken, but no damage report. The safe was tampered with, but the police never saw it open. No forced entry, no prints, no weapon, and somehow all of that just passed? Someone smoothed things over. Someone told the police what to write down, and someone must have known what Alan did and decided to protect him. There were only two people in that house who could have done that, Alan and my mother. Now she was in a memory care unit, forgetting names and mistaking nurses for cousins. And I had to ask myself something no daughter should ever have to ask. Did my mom help cover up a murder? Because if she did, I wasn't sure I had a mother anymore. I drove to the memory care center on a Tuesday, cloudy, cold, the kind of day where even the sky looks like it's holding something back. The last time I visited my mom, she asked if I was her niece. This time, I was hoping she wouldn't remember me at all. But life doesn't work like that. The nurse led me to the small garden behind the main building. My mom was sitting by the fountain, wrapped in a pink cardigan I didn't recognize. When she saw me, her face lit up. "Sweetheart," she said, smiling wide, "look at you." I stood still. Somewhere in that broken memory of hers, she still knew my face. And maybe that should have made me feel something. But all I felt was tired. "Hi, Mom," I said. She reached for my hand. Hers was cold, thin, almost transparent. "I've been waiting for you," she said. "For how long?" I asked. She tilted her head. "Since the storm. The roof was leaking, remember? There was no storm. Not recently." Her mind was building new versions of the past like a child stacks blocks, fragile, uneven, doomed to fall. I sat beside her, silent for a while. I didn't know how to ask, "Did you help cover up your husband's murder?" So I tried a different door. "Do you remember the night Dad died?" She went quiet. Her fingers played with the edge of her sweater. Then she looked out toward the fence. "Of course," she said. "The man came in through the back door. I was in the kitchen. Alan was upstairs." Right. The official script, still running after all these years. "Alan was with Dad when it happened," I said. She turned to me slowly. "What?" I repeated, calm and sharp this time. "Alan was in the room. I saw the tape. He had a gun." She didn't blink, just stared. And then, very softly, she said, "I told him not to go through with it." My breath caught. I stared at her. That same sweet face, those soft eyes. And I realized she wasn't confused now, not in this moment. "He said Dad owed him," she continued, "that he was tired of being treated like trash, that he deserved what was inside that safe." I couldn't speak. My throat felt full of glass. "You knew," I whispered. "You knew what he did." She looked away. "He was my son," she said. "So was Dad." She closed her eyes. He stopped being my husband the day he slapped Alan across the face, called him a failure, a mistake. I stood up. It felt like my legs weren't mine. "You let your son kill your husband," I said, every word like lead. "And you lied about it for 18 years. She didn't deny it. She didn't cry. She just said, "We didn't lie. We protected the family." I let out a laugh, cold, flat. "That's what this is to you? Protection?" She nodded slowly. "You don't understand. You've always been strong. But Alan needed us." I stepped back. I felt like the air itself was rotting around me. "You let him destroy everything, and you called it love." She said nothing. The nurse returned a few minutes later, asking if everything was okay. I smiled. A fake one. "Fine," I said. "She's just tired." But I wasn't. I was wide awake. Because now I knew the full truth. They didn't just cover it up. They picked a side. And it wasn't mine. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay on the couch, arms folded, the tape playing on loop in my head. Not the shooting. That part had faded. What I kept hearing, over and over, was my mother's voice. "You've always been strong." It wasn't a compliment. It was a verdict, a sentence. The reason she gave herself permission to bury my father and protect the one who pulled the trigger. Strong. You know what that word really means in families like mine? It means you get the guilt, the cleanup, and none of the love. By morning, I had a plan. Not revenge. I wasn't interested in playing God. But exposure? Yeah, that felt right. So I called Alan. This time, he didn't ignore me. "What?" he said, voice dry, impatient. "Want to talk about old family movies again?" "Actually, yeah," I replied. "Thought you might want a private showing. Just you and me." He laughed. That same cocky, careless laugh he used when he used to borrow Dad's car and come back with a scratch and a lie. "What do you want, Jen?" "I want to meet." A long pause. "Where?" "Our father's grave." Another pause. Longer. "You're serious?" I didn't answer. He agreed, reluctantly, but he came. We met that Friday afternoon. The cemetery was empty, cold, and gray. The kind of place that doesn't ask questions, just holds your history quietly, like a secret it never agreed to keep. Alan was wearing sunglasses, because of course he was. "You look tired," he said. "You look guilty." He chuckled. "So, this is it? You're gonna guilt-trip me into confessing?" "I'm not here for a confession," I said. "I brought evidence." I handed him a USB drive. He looked at it like it might burn him. "What is this?" "The tape, the letter, the full file." He didn't say anything, just pocketed it, slowly. "You really hate me that much?" he said. That made me laugh. "Hate you? Number you'd have to matter for me to hate you." He flinched, just a little, enough. "I'm giving you two options," I said. "You turn yourself in, or I send this to the police, along with a signed statement, and a lawyer." "You wouldn't." I leaned closer. "You really think I'm bluffing, Alan? After 18 years of silence? After finding out you killed him and Mom just nodded along like it was a school fight?" He looked at the grave. "Dad was a piece of shit," he muttered. "No," I said. "You were just too weak to handle being held accountable. So you shot him, and they let you live like it never happened. But I'm not like them." He stayed quiet, and then suddenly he snapped. You think you're better than me? Always were, right? Dad's little favorite, Miss Perfect? I didn't blink. No, Alan, I think I'm braver than you, that's all. He didn't hit me, he didn't scream. He just stood there, shoulders tight, jaw clenched, the kind of man who spent his whole life blaming everyone else for the fire, even when the match was still in his hand. Before I left, I said one last thing. You're not going to prison because of me. You're going because you chose the gun. I just chose not to lie anymore. Then I walked away, past the graves, past the silence, past the guilt that was never mine to carry. And for the first time since I was 17, I felt something close to peace. Not justice, not closure, just peace. The kind that comes when the truth finally stops whispering and starts speaking out loud. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay on the couch, arms folded, the tape playing on loop in my head. Not the shooting, that part had faded. What I kept hearing over and over was my mother's voice. You've always been strong. It wasn't a compliment. It was a verdict, a sentence. The reason she gave herself permission to bury my father and protect the one who pulled the trigger. Strong. You know what that word really means in families like mine? It means you get the guilt, the cleanup, and none of the love. By morning, I had a plan. Not revenge. I wasn't interested in playing God. But exposure, yeah, that felt right. So I called Alan. This time, he didn't ignore me. What? He said, voice dry, impatient. Want to talk about old family movies again? Actually, yeah, I replied. Thought you might want a private showing, just you and me. He laughed. That same cocky, careless laugh he used when he used to borrow Dad's car and come back with a scratch and a lie. What do you want, Jen? I want to meet. A long pause. Where? Our father's grave. Another pause. Longer. You're serious? I didn't answer. He agreed, reluctantly, but he came. We met that Friday afternoon. The cemetery was empty, cold and gray. The kind of place that doesn't ask questions, just holds your history quietly, like a secret it never agreed to keep. Alan was wearing sunglasses, because of course he was. You look tired, he said. You look guilty. He chuckled. So this is it. You're going to guilt trip me into confessing? I'm not here for a confession, I said. I brought evidence. I handed him a USB drive. He looked at it like it might burn him. What is this? The tape, the letter, the full file. He didn't say anything, just pocketed it, slowly. You really hate me that much? He said. That made me laugh. Hate you. Number you'd have to matter for me to hate you. He flinched. Just a little, enough. I'm giving you two options, I said. You turn yourself in, or I send this to the police, along with a signed statement, and a lawyer. You wouldn't. I leaned closer. You really think I'm bluffing, Alan? After 18 years of silence, after finding out you killed him and Mom just nodded along, like it was a school fight. He looked at the grave. Dad was a piece of shit, he muttered. No, I said. You were just too weak to handle being held accountable. So you shot him, and they let you live like it never happened. But I'm not like them. He stayed quiet. And then suddenly he snapped. You think you're better than me? Always were, right? Dad's little favorite, Miss Perfect? I didn't blink. No, Alan, I think I'm braver than you, that's all. He didn't hit me, he didn't scream. He just stood there, shoulders tight, jaw clenched. The kind of man who spent his whole life blaming everyone else for the fire, even when the match was still in his hand. Before I left, I said one last thing. You're not going to prison because of me. You're going because you chose the gun. I just chose not to lie anymore. Then I walked away, past the graves, past the silence, past the guilt that was never mine to carry. And for the first time since I was 17, I felt something close to peace. Not justice, not closure, just peace. The kind that comes when the truth finally stops whispering and starts speaking out loud. Alan didn't turn himself in. Of course he didn't. 2 days passed after our meeting at the cemetery. No call, no text, no lawyer, just silence. The same kind of silence I'd grown up with, thick, heavy, and cowardly. So I did what he thought I wouldn't. I sent the file to the district attorney's office, to the original detective on the case, to 3 journalists, one of them an old college friend who owed me a favor and loved stories about quiet family scandals with teeth. And then I waited. I expected an explosion, an arrest, a press conference, at least a goddamn phone call, but nothing exploded, not at first, because truth doesn't always arrive like a hammer. Sometimes it's a leak, a slow one, quiet, relentless, unstoppable. 3 days later, a blog post went viral. He said it was a robbery. His sister had the tape. No names yet, but anyone who knew us, even slightly, knew exactly who it was about. I got the first call from a cousin in Michigan, then an old high school teacher, then someone from church who hadn't spoken to me since my dad's funeral, but suddenly remembered how odd Alan looked that week. Everyone had a version of, I always thought something was off. Funny how truth turns strangers into prophets after the fact. By the end of the week, the DA's office opened a case review. Quietly, no media yet. They asked for a meeting. I showed up with my lawyer. They asked if I'd be willing to testify if it went to trial. I said yes, without blinking. They asked if I thought my mother should be investigated too. That part was harder. I stared at the floor, then said, "She's already serving her sentence. Every day." They nodded. By the next Monday, Alan's name was trending locally. Someone leaked it. Not me, but I didn't mind. He finally called. I let it ring twice before picking up. "Are you insane?" he hissed. No hello, no breathing space. "Nice to hear your voice," I said flatly. "I thought you were busy not turning yourself in. Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Yeah," I replied. "I told the truth. I know that's a foreign concept to you, but give it a minute." He cursed, loud, angry, said I ruined everything, said Mom was crying nonstop. I didn't respond, so he threw the last card he had. "You're destroying this family," and that made me laugh. "Alan," I said calmly, "you destroyed this family the moment you picked up that gun. I just opened the curtain." He hung up again. I stared at the phone for a while. I wasn't shaken. I wasn't even sad. I was just done. Later that night, I got a call from the care home. My mother had a fall. She was stable, but confused, disoriented, kept repeating the same question. "Where's Alan?" I didn't visit, not because I didn't care, but because I finally understood something. I was the only one who didn't get to choose what kind of person I became in that family. I just became the one who cleaned up the blood after everyone else left the room. The trial never happened. Alan took a plea deal, manslaughter, time served, probation, mandatory therapy, community service, 18 years of pretending it was a robbery boiled down to 10 months of supervised reform. Apparently, if you kill someone young enough and lie long enough, the system eventually calls it complicated. He didn't serve a single night behind bars, not one, and still he called me crying. "I lost everything," he said on the voicemail. "I can't get a job. Everyone looks at me like I'm a monster." I didn't delete the message, I saved it. Not because I wanted to hear it again, but because sometimes it's important to remember exactly what cowardice sounds like. The blog post was updated, full names now. Dates. A quote from me. "Telling the truth cost me the last pieces of my family, but not telling it cost me myself. People praised me, people judged me. Some called me brave, others said I should have let it go. But here's the thing. You don't let go of a dead father. You bury him once. You carry him forever." My mom's condition declined fast after the news broke. One nurse said she stopped speaking for a few days. Another said she kept talking to someone in the garden, even when no one was there. I went to visit her one last time. She was sitting by the window, her hair thinner now, her eyes still soft but fading. She looked up, didn't say my name, but smiled. "Are you here to take me home?" she asked. "No," I said, "just to say goodbye." She nodded, like she understood. Before I left, I leaned in close and whispered, "I loved you, even when you didn't protect me." Her lips moved. I think she tried to say something back, but I was already walking down the hallway, and this time I didn't look back. After she passed, Alan didn't come to the funeral. He sent flowers, white lilies. The card said, "To Mom, from your son, I forgive you." Of course he did. Forgiving is easy when you're never the one bleeding. I sold the house. I donated most of the furniture. Kept one thing, the camera, not for evidence, just as a reminder. Some people keep family albums. I keep the truth on a USB drive in a drawer under my socks. Safe, cold, real. I live in Chicago now, work a quiet job, drink black coffee, water my plants, and I sleep. Finally, I sleep. One night, I got a message from a girl I didn't know. She said she read the article and saw her own story between the lines. She said it gave her the courage to confront the uncle no one believed her about. I didn't reply, but I cried, because maybe that's the only redemption I believe in now. Telling the truth loud enough so someone else stops whispering. I walk past cemeteries sometimes and don't flinch. That part of me, the one waiting for ghosts to make things right, is gone. People think I burned the family down. I didn't. I just turned off the lights and walked out of a house where everyone else had been playing pretend for far too long.